between Fiji and France at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. Two teams that are both unbeaten in their first round matches. Fiji, who beat Australia 26-5, and France, it seems like they had a good breakfast this morning, winning 33-21 against Scotland. Well, Fiji certainly have the head on the head-to-heads with those 33-3 in the series overall. They last met in Wellington in February of this year, but they've never played against each other here in Port Elizabeth. So Fiji captained as usual by Asiya Kolisina, and a very inspiring captain he is too. And look out for number 7, Samisoni Viriviri, who was the player of the tournament last week in Dubai and a very special player. France with somewhat of an aging squad. They've got 3 players over the age of 30, including their captain Vincent Deniard. But they do have a lot of talent in their team too, if they keep up the good work that we saw in their first match against Scotland. At the moment, France are 12th in the overall rankings, and Fiji number 2. Of course, they were the champions, Fiji, in Dubai, and unbeaten on that occasion. So a solid quantity of points there you see from the Fijians too, who interestingly enough last week started relatively slowly and then built up, and it became very special. There's Benito Maselevu, who's a secondary school teacher in industrial arts and physical education, playing in his 8th event. James Matthew gets a second start here in Port Elizabeth. Kick-off from Paul Albaladejo, and the French will know that they have to close the Fijians down very quickly. If you open up some space like it's just happened right now, they're a very difficult team to play against. What a brilliant start this is for Fiji, and it's Ratabuli with their first score inside the minute.
Oh, Fiji, the captain scores the first try, creating a space by moving the ball around. The attack and the offload in the contact, and the captain Kolisina starts off the tries. Fiji, they really have come up since Ben Ryan has taken over from them. It's just a different temperament. Oh, it's a great play into the space. The support is what makes this try. The offload in contact, 2 players are out, and the captain cracks on the pace. Candelot can't keep up with them. Kolisina scores the first try.
So excellent play there from the Fijians. Ratabuli, Kolisina with the finishing touches, and it's a brilliant start for them. French with a tap down from the kick-in, and that, if it's controlled, it's the ideal thing to do. Now the French trying to find some space here in the form of Julian Saba, who's was a late replacement for this tournament. Of course, he's played many before, and it's got a little bit breezy here. Well, there's another opportunity. Yeah, they come again. Maselevu over for the second try.
Oh, Fiji strangle and suffocate, come up on the lines. They never set up the ruck, gave him a chance to come in between the man and ball. And one anticipation for Fiji. And a good try for Maselevu. Benito. He just started so well, like it's putting so much pressure up on France, and they're attacking everything, especially from their kickoffs. This is where they put the pressure from other teams.
Yeah, France are having to play from deep, you know. It's not easy for them. And the other thing is the breakdown points. Fiji are incredibly aggressive. They're a bunch of great athletes, and if you don't control your ball, it can be really difficult. There's another turnover. France had it originally. Now Fiji with the opportunity in the run again, and they'll probe those lines at all times. This is Viriviri, and they kick through there, back there from Pierre Tawai, but it's gone into touch and goal.
Oh, they do well with the ball in hand. They cover all the estate, getting into the half of France. France is just backing down into the 15-meter line. guess he doesn't have the sympathetic touch of the football player.
Well, Julian Saban on that occasion. Well, the Fijians have the put in here. And watch their power up front with Turai and Sakiwa, Masilevu.
Advantage, turn upside.
They also move the ball around the field so effectively. They love the inside-out runners. They've got space. They've got another try too. This time, it's very, very... He was an absolute sensation last week in Dubai, the player of the tournament, and his 13th try.
Very in again for another try. But what a good play there coming from Ratchaburi. Carries the ball in two hands. They'll pass around the back from the defender and attack. Fiji at its best, scoring another try. Very
Try to the policeman. Now France have got to try and get in behind Fiji. That's the key to them. Make them play backwards. There's Ben Ryan in picture, the Englishman who's done such a good job with his team. Just instilled a strong belief. Here they come again. They are very efficient with kickoffs to Fiji. We saw that against New Zealand in Dubai when they were so competitive, but this time playing the ball on the ground.
But they just argue off the ball in possession. You can't really create any pressure against them because all the time you're chasing around and they've got the ball.
So what did France do again? Looking to use the depth of the field for their runners. Difficulty for France is they don't have any genuine pacemen in their side. It's another challenge when you're up against a team of athletes like Fiji. Out from Steve Barry. This is Jean-Baptiste Gourlet. Better chance here for France. Now they need support too for Julien Camilo. No, he doesn't need the support. Yes, now he does. Found some space. See how Fiji are competing at that breakdown point. They've slowed the ball down. And another chance here for France. There comes the support. I think Julian Sabat will finish it off. That was much better play than from France. They had a string of possession. They made good use of it, and they got in behind Fiji.
Oh, there was a man, the paceman from their side, Julian Canadot, taking up the ball all the way to the 22, and then the offloading contact and support play, Goble keeping the ball alive, and Sabat with a good support play finishes it under the poles.
Well, the 30-somethings are doing some good work here for France. They were all involved in that last move.
Oh, the 30-man club.
So Paul Albaladejo will kick off. Try and get some height on the ball. Make sure that his men can compete for it. Up for it there was Gourlet. But first knock on then from France, so they'll pack down.
That should encourage France that they're starting to compete from the kickoffs, trying to retain their own possession.
That man in picture there, Daligna of France in the front row. Parlez-vous français?
Not at all.
Well, I think they call him chicken, but I think chicken in French is poulet, isn't it?
I thought it was a Botswana currency.
Half-time hooter. And France, can they get another one? Well, the best way to do that, they feel, is a chip and chase. So Sabat's kick and Fiji are just hoof an intersection goal. They'll be happy to go into half-time with a good lead. They've got 3 tries. They've played really good rugby in this first half. But France have shown that they've got a little bit of mettle coming back with that try from Julian Saban. So half-time then, at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in this Pool A fixture. Fiji up 17-7. Players as usual, they don't come off the field, they stay on the field, and then the little huddle and the coaches, let's hear what they've got to say.
Okay, you've got to be a bit more selfish about keeping the ball and looking after it. We're in a game here, it's only 10 points. 2 scores. Give them a sniff and they'll want to come back, like all French sides do. Put the nail in the coffin now in the next 2 minutes. So you work harder than you worked in that first half now, otherwise you're going to have a hard game on your hands. Keep ball, shift, work harder off the ball than on the ball, yeah? So working hard and communicating, and no missed tackles. Dropped off a couple in that first one. Let's go. Harder.
So what do you make of Ben Ryan's check there, Kabani?
Very much. Just wanting a bit more effort, outwork the French team, make sure that you do put up the tries, make the scores 3 scores to go, so that in that way they start chasing the game. You score in the first 2 minutes. If you keep that ball for the next 2 minutes and you score the points, it's going to be very difficult for the French side to come back. But it's all about work and more work rate.
Well, it hasn't started well. Ball hasn't gone 10 meters. France have played it in the form of Steve Barry. And France now happy to use the width of the field and the pace and power of Gobele. They call him the Jonah Lomu of Basque Country. He's a big man at 110 kilograms, plays on the wing. So a little bit more possession coming their way now, France. This is Julien Candelon. Fiji, quick take from Molivero. Oh, the big man to Wai. And he's gone and lost it.
Fiji's starting to be a bit more loose. This is what Ben Ryan was warning them against. They're starting to give the French side a bit of a sniff. And if they get it and they start feeling that they can turn this points around, it's only 2 scores away, 17 points to 7. Still in it, France.
Well, the crowd are really enjoying the fair here at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. And of course, they wait in anticipation to the locals for South Africa's second match up against Spain. Kabani, I think you're right. You know, it is still a tight game. And France have got to just do their bit to get hold of possession.
Definitely keep their possession when they get it.
With a change of direction. This is Steve Barry. Really getting quite breezy down here in Port Elizabeth, so the players a little bit more concentration from their side too. 7's is very much a game of moving the ball around, so passing and accuracy becomes critical. But France have got a penalty here and an opportunity to get out of their half of the field. We have seen a fair number of teams kicking to touch and taking the lineouts, which a lot of people find quite unusual. However, it does give you a little bit of a chance to settle things.
Oh, it's very easy. You chart ground so easily. It's much easier to just make the kick. You can go about 20 meters, which you can be making by running. Give yourself a set phase position. That's where most of the moves come from. That's where all the players start. So this is where they can get their rhythm.
So the South Africans just warming up in picture. Of course, the teams in between matches, they've got to stay loose. Coaches have got them out there. It's a grueling 2 days. That ball didn't go the required 5 meters.
Let's go 5.
So France have made 33 passes in this game, 15 only by Fiji. But Fiji have got 3 tries to speak of
from the 15 passes.
So again, you can see that they look, there's a bit of probing done by France, but a little bit more directness from Fiji. They like to run at space. Here's an example of that. To Wai. But they're very competitive at the breakdown on Fiji, so they've won the penalty.
You're fine, 3 much on quicker. Have you seen that?
Sneaky.
That's what they say. So Ratabuli just got things going, but that might be a knock-on from France.
Now Fiji, Gab, I find them, they seem to be going through the emotions. They've got the lead. They're not really taking this by the scruff of the neck and making sure that they're being accurate, turning up, make sure they stick to the game plan, outwork France. But France are starting to feel as if they got something out of this game, and it's just a matter of time till they score.
Semi Kunatani onto the park for Fiji.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Well, he has potential danger time too. There's the little grubber kick through from Viri Viri, and a pick up from the man. He continues to sparkle, this youngster.
That's what I mean by taking the game by the scruff of the neck, giving it to the man who's willing to score the tries. And his 14th try this season. Samsoni Viri Viri.
He is a sensational player, this fella.
Oh, just the inside outside, burns the man out with the big step. But the ingenious getting the grubber in with his left foot so that he bounces back into his hands. What a try, 14th try for the man.
Well, you can imagine that the great Vasily Serebi is watching this and seeing just how well this fellow is playing. Just have a look at that. The most tries, 2 Fijians, Masalevu is the other one. So they have really shown they've taken the fight to the opposition.
Oh, good returns, 27 tries from 2 players on one side.
Tap down, attempted tap down from Jean-Baptiste Gobele. But it is the Fijians with another. Fijians will bring some more replacements onto the field. Naikasu is on, Mawalu is on, so they've perhaps worked out in their own minds that they're close to winning this game. Let's get some replacements on, some fresh legs. Put in from Nakaku. Again, they're finding space. France are not making their first time tackles, so it's front football most of the time for Fiji. Now they've got numbers. Someone just to straighten it. Oh dear. Not a great pass. Pick up from Kunatani. Semi-Kunatani, that is. Well, Ben Ryan's half-time chat seems to have gone a little bit awry for the Fijians. Still, they've got 4 tries against 1. France is battling to get through the Fijian defense, which is well organized, and they're having to play backwards. Well, the penalty count is climbing. That's 5 against France, and potentially another try. It's going to come this time from the replacement Mawalu.
Mosesi Mawalu takes the opportunity. Fiji take the game away from France. It was a great work from him, right in that breakdown, staying up on his feet, competing hard. The man on the ground doesn't have the rights to the ball, and he takes a quick tap, spots the space, spots the gap, and he does have the pace. Mosesi Mawalu in the corner.
One of the key elements in this game is to take that kick very quickly, too, bearing in mind the referees don't allow players to throw the ball away. You've got to put the ball down, the opposition, immediately. And the hooter goes, and Ben Ryan in picture there will feel very comfortable as he thanks Frederick Pomerel for the game. And the Fijians, well, their march continues. But the important thing is that they've scored tries. Here's just one of them. And 5 tries in this match. It's okay. Next up, Scott.